So Reuters noticed something about an interview. Reuters headline, former senior U.S. official John Bolton admits to planning attempted foreign coups. So that's like one of those things. Again, what is a gaffe in Washington when you accidentally tell the truth? And that's exactly what happened. Now, everybody knows we've been cooing the shit out of the entire globe since World War II, for sure, and before. And it's always for the economic interests of a corporation in the United States, right? Read the Confessions of an Economic Hitman and all that stuff. So what is he talking about? They're talking about this interview that Jake Tapper, that's his real name, not his porn name. He was interviewing John Bolton, who's a former Bush official, former Trump official, and he's a certified crazy man who wants to never met a problem that a bomb couldn't fix. That's who John Bolton is. And so when Trump brought him into the office, it was into his Oval Office or into his cabinet, it was actually Trump who had to restrain John Bolton's hawkishness. It wasn't, we didn't have to worry about Trump's finger on the button. We had to worry about guys like John Bolton's. And so John Bolton leaves the administration and immediately starts trashing President Trump because he wasn't hawkish enough. That's why. And then everybody's like, oh, even John Bolton hates him. Yeah, because he. So now watch what John. So this is interesting for two different reasons. One, because he admits to doing coups. But the second reason, because watch what he says about January 6th. Now, this is a guy who's been trashing Trump like crazy since he left his administration. But watch what he says about January 6th. So two very interesting things. Let's watch and then we'll come back and talk.
Advice and keep shopping around until you end up with this group of misfits with like Michael Flynn and Sidney Powell. Is he just not capable of hearing no?
Well, when it comes to his personal advantage, the answer is he doesn't listen to anybody else. But I think it's also important to understand, while nothing Donald Trump did after the election in connection with the lie about the election fraud, none of it is defensible. None of it is defensible. It's also a mistake, as some people have said, including on the committee, the commentators, that somehow this was a carefully planned coup d'etat aimed at the Constitution.
It wasn't. It's a bunch of yahoos in Viking hats that were instigated into storming the place by FBI plants, and then a lot of them were let in by the cops themselves, and they took. We saw the video of them opening the gates and then them taking. So and then they got in there and they didn't know what to do. Yeah. They didn't even know what to do when they got in there. They're like, they hung out, took a dump in Nancy Pelosi's office, and then they're like, I guess we should go home. They took selfies with the cops and they left. Isn't that what happened?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we were there. We didn't see one weapon, not one single friggin' weapon.
And there were more cops protecting the Capitol at a forced to vote rally and
absolutely
than there were for that January 6th thing. So it's almost like they wanted it to happen. But anyway, back to John Bolton.
That's not the way Donald Trump does things. It's rambling from one half-vast idea to another, one plan that falls through and another comes up. That's what he was doing. As I say, none of it defensible. But you have to understand the nature of what the problem of Donald Trump is. He's, to use a Star Wars metaphor, a disturbance in the force. And it's not an attack on our democracy. It's Donald Trump looking out for Donald Trump. It's a once-in-a-life.
So I think that's very interesting that he said that it's not an attack on our democracy. Now, this is a guy who they bring on because he's going to shit on Donald Trump. That's why they bring him on CNN, not because he's a Donald Trump defender. So they didn't see this coming. So here we go.
Time occurrence.
I don't know that I agree with you. To be fair, with all due respect, one doesn't have to be brilliant to attempt a coup.
Here it comes.
I disagree with that. As somebody who has helped plan coup d'etat, not here, but other places, it takes a lot of work, and that's not what he did. It would.
And Jake Tapper just sits there and is like, "Oh yeah, you plan coups in other countries? Sure, I get it. Yeah, that's what we do, man. Whatever. That's right." He's more concerned about the fake coup than he is about the actual coups this guy's admitting.
Yeah.
And
it takes a genius, Jimmy. You know what I'm saying? You can't be as slack.
Yeah.
Someone like me who's done this before. Please.
Yeah, and John, the last coup he tried to pull off was in Venezuela.
Yeah.
And it failed. So he's not as smart as he thinks he is. He tried to overthrow Venezuela. They tried to install Juan Guaido. And what is that when you watch a clip like that, Fiorella? Well, tell me what goes through your mind.
Well, what they're doing, I don't think they meant to do this. I don't think they thought that John Bolton was going to say the quiet part out loud.
No.
So this is very beautiful when it happens, because we have all been saying this, right? For the longest time, we've been talking about the coup in Venezuela. You could even talk about the coup in Bolivia. And now there are talks that the Imran Khan's removal was also backed by the United States. And so we've known that the United States goes around the world cooing people. We've seen this, but a lot of people who watch CNN might not have known this. Likely they don't know this. And so it's kind of opening up a Pandora's box of unleashing the truth in a time where people already are distrusting the government for COVID, for this Russia-Ukraine situation, for the fact that we're giving billions and billions of dollars to Ukraine. So it goes to pose the question then, can we talk about the 2014 Maidan coup, which is the reason why we're in this situation right now, where Victoria Nuland and Jeffrey Pyatt went in there and they pretty much removed a democratically elected leader, Yanukovych, and installed their own puppet. I mean, this is like, we're all being proven right. And I think the more important question is, this is why they're censoring literally everybody right now in independent media. They're giving strikes, they're taking videos down, and they're doing it because we're exposing these coups. In fact, Julian Assange is facing a life sentence because of exposing these type of things. And so it just kind of points it out to where, okay, so now it's all out there. And I think people are going to start to see this shift. And I mean, maybe that's optimistic of me, but I think there's definitely like this is why they're cracking down so hard on independent media.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that next. Actually, friend of the show, Jackson Hinkle, just got demonetized and given another strike. And I know you at Convo Couch have had your own run-ins with the YouTube censors, as we have here at this show. And so we're going to talk about that next. Anything, Craig, you'd like to say?
Yeah, well, by the way, 19 months demonetized on YouTube right now for Fiorella and us on the Convo Couch and a lot of members of the MCSE network. It really does suck. If anybody can just imagine for a second them taking 40% of your salary out in one shot, it's just, it makes it really tough. But the one thing I do want to kind of piggyback off what Fiorella is saying is that I look at the other side where this makes me a little bit nervous. Right now, as we're looking at the two-party system, a lot of people are saying that the Republicans, the Trump party, is a lot less warmongerish than the Democratic Party. I mean, this is the craziness of it. But
that's how bad the Democrats are.
I know, they're just ridiculous. But to me, I still remember the George Bush days, Jimmy. And for me, it seems like a lot of patriots or conservatives are okay with war sometimes, as long as it doesn't cost us a lot of money at home here at the pump. They justified the whole Iraq situation because it really didn't hit us at home that much because we were borrowing all the money on a credit card. And it seems like the conservatives are really amping or jumping up for a war with China. So when they kind of say stuff like this out loud, sometimes to me, I feel like there's a justification for it, and a lot of people, they don't understand foreign policy. They don't look at it and they think it's okay for us to be the policemen of the world. So it makes me a little bit nervous when they can say this out loud and there's not enough pushback like there should be for what he was talking about. He's pretty much admitting to murder and war crimes out loud.
And the CNN host didn't make she didn't even mention it, didn't even notice, like, hey, that's kind of a big deal what you just said. He didn't say anything. And then it was just, he was still focused on January 6th. To him, that's the big deal because that's what's the big deal to his boss and and the people he serves. So he knows that. Okay.
Did you see in the background, by the way, it said January 6th, like our democracy as John Bolton speaking, they have it in the background.
No, I didn't.
It's stupid.
I didn't notice that. Hey, we're going to Sacramento, back here in Los Angeles, Bakersfield, Indianapolis, Louisville, Cincinnati, Tulsa, Oklahoma City. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link for all the tickets for all our shows.